all. So we are going to be talking about polygons in their area today for our first set of notes. So make sure you are following along with this and you're writing it down. If you have another way of writing it, you can, but I have a way I organize my own notes just for my own well-being. So the title is going to be Area of Polygons. And today is September 25th. I put a little line down just because I like to separate the topic versus what I'm saying with the topic. You don't have to, up to you. So the first couple polygons we're going to talk about might be a little familiar. The first is a square. And a reminder from when we were looking at squares today, these tick marks and these angle measures mean that it is indeed a square and it is all the same. So I'm going to give my square a side length of 5 meters. So all of the formulas I'm going to give you are the formulas you will see on your MCAS reference sheet when you take your MCAS. So the area is S squared, where S means side. So in this case, the S is 5, so you plug it in. You have area equals 5 squared. So area equals 25. One last thing you always need to do, especially in geometry, is you need units. So the units here are m, or meters. So you're going to put meters squared. The reason it's meters squared is because you are squaring the number up here. So anytime you find the area of anything, the units are going to be squared. So our next polygon is a rectangle. And I do apologize if I'm going a little fast. You can always pause yourself and catch up if need be. So a rectangle looks something like this, where opposite sides are equal to each other. So for this rectangle, I'm going to give this side length to be 2 inches, and then this one to be 4 inches. According to the MCAS reference sheet, the area is L times W, where L means length and W means width. So when I'm looking at my triangle, my length here is 2. So I'm going to have area equals 2, and then my width is 4. So I have area equals 2 times 4. So my area is 8 inches squared. Do not have any naked numbers. Always remember your units. The next one is also something that might be familiar to you, like the square and the rectangle, and that is our triangle. So there's a bunch of different types of triangles. I'm going to draw 2 different ones just so we can think about it. So we have triangles that look like this, and we have triangles that look like this. The reason that it's important to think about the difference is when you're finding the area of a triangle that looks like this, you will see this dotted line in the middle. And the reason being is the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So that B is your base, that H is your height. So this dotted line here is the height. You can't just do 2 sides together because that will not give you the area you want. Unlike on this right triangle, you can do these 2 sides because the side like this, that is your height because it comes down at a right angle. So I'm going to use this one. Let's say that this is 2 centimeters down here and 3 centimeters right here. My area is 1/2. My base is my bottom, so times 2. Then my height is that altitude or that straight line, which is times 3. Notice how I'm using parentheses whenever you think of PEMDAS. You're like, oh, parentheses, I need to do those first. Actually, you do what's inside the parentheses first. And because there's nothing inside these parentheses, it just means multiplication. And when you multiply left to right, just like if you're reading. So here I had area of 1/2 times 2, and that gives me 1. And then times 3. So my area is 3 centimeters squared. Do not forget those units. I will say that a lot. So these 3 shapes are 3 shapes that we've seen a lot of and we're probably very familiar with. The next 2 shapes we might not be as familiar with, but it takes in what we are doing with these first 3 shapes up there. So the first one is a parallelogram. So I have to say it like that so I can spell it. And as we were talking about properties yesterday and today, our parallelogram looks something like this. These little arrows just mean that those are the sides that are parallel to each other. So for a parallelogram, to find the area is kind of similar to a triangle where you have your base and your height. And to find the height, just like a triangle, you need the distance between the 2 things. You can't just use this side because that side is kind of squished. You need to have a straight line going down to find the height. So in this case, I'm going to have this be 3 meters and this length down here be 5 meters. So my area, my base is right there, so my area equals 5 times my height is that distance from the top to the bottom, so times 3. So the area of this parallelogram is 15, and then don't forget our units, meters squared. So the very last polygon that we're going to be talking about is also a little bit trickier when you are finding the area. And that is the trapezoid. So trapezoids, just like triangles, can look a couple different ways. So you're probably used to trapezoids looking like this some sort of way. They can also look like this, where this is a right angle here. So for an area of a trapezoid, the area is 1/2 the height times base 1 plus base 2. And the way you find these bases, I like to think of these bases like the bread of a sandwich, and I like to think of the height as the meat. And what I mean by that is looking at this trapezoid, the bread, if I was to make a sandwich, I can't make a sandwich with it going like this. My things are going to get everywhere. So these 2 lines, they're also the parallel lines, are going to be your bases. Then the height, or the meat, just like we had to do with our triangle or our parallelogram, is going to be the distance between those 2 bases. So for this parallelogram, I'm going to say that it is 2 meters here, 3 meters here, and 4 meters here. If I was talking about this one, the height would be this line right here. This would be your 2 meters because it already has that right angle. Now let's plug everything in. The area is 1/2. My height is that distance, so that 2, times base 1 and base 2. It doesn't really matter which one's which because you're going to add them anyway. So I'm just going to say, for argument's sake, base 1 is at the bottom. So I have 4 plus 3. Now when it comes to PEMDAS, you do have to have something in the parentheses. So you have to add those first. So I have area equals 1/2 2 times 7, and now I just multiply it all out. So when I multiply it all out, I will get my area equals 7 meters squared. So we're going to be going a little bit more into area in depth, but I hope that these simple shapes will help you when we get a little bit trickier. So I will see you soon.